So in introducing our next reader, I hope I don't go on too long about this, but for it to make sense, I want to share a note about how we read submissions at December. Remember that we're essentially new at this, and we're now in the midst of our fourth 10-week submission period since we got started, so we're tweaking and adjusting as we learn. But essentially this is the process for online submissions. It's a little different for paper submissions that come in the mail, but about 90% of our submissions now come in through Submittable, a cloud-based submission program. Writers upload their work through a portal on our website. We log into Submittable on our end, and luckily we have a queue of submissions to read. Our settings are programmed so that we read blindly, meaning our panel of submission readers doesn't see the names or cover letters of the submitter. Every submission gets at least 2 thorough reads, and I read every submission, sometimes as a first reader and sometimes as a last reader. We have a panel of 17 readers now who are generally first set of eyes on submissions, 9 of whom are dedicated to poetry. Then we have this stellar panel of advisory editors, most of whom are part of December's first incarnation, and a handful of them will read submissions when we're not quite sure about something, or if we're having a heated discussion about something, or sometimes if we just get so excited about something that we can't wait to share it. The third scenario is what unfolded in late June, near the end of our last submission period. What is it with these poets who send in their stuff at the very end? And we got a submission titled 3 Po. For whatever weird reason, that caught my eye and I clicked on the submission. It was impulsive. Our fall issue, the one that came out last week that we have tonight, was already full. So we were reading for our spring issue at that point, and I was definitely reading out of chronological order. I remember very specifically reading these poems. It was a beautiful day. I was working from home, sitting outside with my laptop, and I read these 3 poems, or 3 Po, and thought, wow, these are something special. I read them again, mesmerized by the word choices, the diction, the images presented. 3 poems, arguably about natural settings, a cave, the woods, and a marsh, or at the same time, poems about the physical world, about human interaction with nature, and about mortality itself. I was so excited I didn't need to send these through a line of readers to get approval. But I didn't want to make a hasty decision in a vacuum either. The poems had just been submitted a day or 2 earlier, so I sent them to one of our advisory editors, a well-established, well-published poet himself, and this is what he had to say. 3 goodies here. I like these a lot. Wonderful diction, spectacular syntax and imagery. As I had already guessed, the submission titled 3 Po came from a more experienced poet, and I was delighted to have an opportunity to publish 3 Po by Jennifer Atkinson. She's the author of 4 poetry collections, the most recent of which, Canticle of the Night Path, won Free Verse's New Measure Prize. Her poems and her essays have appeared in countless publications, and both her poems and her essays have been honored with pushcart prizes. Her 3 Po, Involution, Almost, and On West Brook Marsh, will be in December's volume 26.1 in spring 2015. And that gives us something to really look forward to. It's my pleasure to introduce Jennifer Atkinson.
So it pays to have a typo there. Negligence pays off, rarely. So I'm going to start by reading those 3, just because why not? And I'll read them from darkness, the darkest one, that is, it takes place in the dark, it's in a cave, to the least dark. And so this one, this cave one, it's one of those caves that is a cave with the usual stalactites and stalagmites, that kind of thing, but also prehistoric paintings. So imagine that, and that's all you need to know, I think. I just love those caves, though, don't you? They're just like amazing. I'm sort of, well, I'm obsessed with them. I'll admit it, and I do when I've traveled. I make like going to these tiny little caves where there's only a little charcoal mark the reason to go there. So this is the cave poem, Involution. The cavern is a mirror unlit or leoparded in lantern light. Overhung with limestone ice, its clear pool deepens, one drop at a time. The clock of years slows as it winds down. Among the inventory of unearthed things, tallow residue, finger bone, a toothless arc of jaw. The dark itself is an artifact. One longs to touch it, the smooth, involuted as conch contours of it. A smoke-smirched wall revealed by cell phone glow. Manganese, rust, and ochre daubs become fish, pinniped, caribou, horse. Images of their maker as true as a stenciled hand. Or in the calcified ash, a child's footprints alongside the footprints of her dog. That's another good reason to read that one first. Dog owners. Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you to the Writers Center and to December Magazine. It's fun to be here and to read with people that I've admired for a long time, and with my student. Sarah's my student. Yeah, I know, isn't that brilliant?
Oh, wow.
And she's great, isn't she? She graduated, so she's not my student anymore. So it's all her. This one is called Almost. Only in the most resinous woods, the deepest of evergreens stands with that gloom in me open. Solitude, inviolate, or nearly so, as I could then enter. Unlike the laurel starved underneath for sun, I felt myself lighten, lift almost. The random notes of conefall, bird song, traffic a quarter mile off, I found I was counting breaths. Among the hemlocks, splintered light shafts, fletched with owl quills, lodged in the soft ground. I might have almost sung. Wind rarely intruded, nor deep snow, rain, but indirectly. Nights the moon hardly touched. In a storm, deer lay up there, flank to flank. In the cold, their breath one, I dreamed, visible cloud. And the third, this takes place in Connecticut, on a marsh, and it's a marsh that I've returned to year after year. My parents have a house there, and we spent summers there, my husband and I. He was a poet too, a poet in his own right, as they usually say about the wife. I didn't really mean it that way. It's great. It's funny how people do say that. But he's Eric Hankey, and we raised our daughter who is was a biology student and now an elementary school teacher, for which we're really proud. But she grew up there on that beach, and so every year we return there, and this is about the marsh that is up a little bit up the Marsh Creek, and if you go down it, you come to the beach, of course. And it gets very foggy there, very foggy, especially in the spring. On Westbrook Marsh. The damp tastes of decay, the black strap muck underfoot, molds and mushrooms and lichens pale, no longer burning lime or acid orange. A drop of mist condensed on every leaf tip, every bared arm hair. In a cloud come to earth, what's visible and what's not shifts. Roots and vines and branches and I get mixed up, tripped up, lost, in a good way, 10 minutes from home. Blurred, The once green, fine-cut ferns are abstracted to gray as if gestural brushwork, keeled over fronds. Blackbird cries leave ionized tracks on the mind. Everything tangent, contingent, porous, osmosing. The membranes between blood and air, creek, sky, moss, leaf, and mud, placental. There's no such thing as discreteness, separate forms among separate others. And then, in a matter of minutes, sun and light winds have undone the mist, and lives, things, the edges of things appear as if from nowhere. Imagined space contracts, a path to open marsh clears, pussy willow and bramble untangle. From 2 or 3 ecotones off, low ocean white noise, unmuffled, seems to restart. Voices carry inland from the pier, where every summer day kids drop their homemade traps and haul them up, amazed. Look, it's alive, it's alive! The same joyous shout, look out, they pinch! They shout every time, as up from the murky, half-salt creek, spider crabs, calicos, and blues emerge, a mess of tumbled up, overlapped lives. And I'll read just a couple, from this book called The Canticle of the Night Path, which has a bunch of various poems in it, but all of them have 5 of something. 5 lines, 5 sentences, 5 paragraphs, 5 couplets. And they all start with canticle of something, and they go in alphabetical order, which is supposed to make it easy for me to find them. And so let me read Canticle of Stone. So a canticle, you know the canticle, the St. Francis canticle. And a canticle is really a little song. It's a little song. It's not so big as a canto. It's a canticle. Canticle of Stone. An almanac of storms, spent rains, snows snowed and summers quenched. A ledger of debts and excesses, each 5 billion lives compressed to a mineral glyph, a mere serif. A glossary of mats and glints, sift and flow, clench and thaw. History told backwards, the score, the gospel of evolution, sutra of change, psalter of anti, anti, anti. Unplotted, unauthored, all ibid and upset, an endless dissertation on. This is the Canticle of Rhymes. Bird with herd, bird, bard, brare, briar, pear, wire, pine warbler, water, warbler. Egg with X, nest with need, knees, heed with hoard or hide, nor hair, nor is it hide or hair. Talon with gallow, claw with crow, beak with break, with beck and call. Wing with singe and song, and thing with thing, like unfurling leaf with fist to palm. Quill with quail, quell, tail feather, ether, either, other, love or hover, power, forever and ever. Salinas. And maybe one more. This is Canticle of the Night Path, which is the title one. I want the moon to overfill, spill over, and drown me in dust light. I want whatever happens after that. I want the owl's one note to lull doubt to sleep. I want to walk the night path. Let the deer leap, the creek sing, the ferns loosen their infant fists. I promise I won't look. Let the stars open like time-lapse roses. I promise to close my heart. I want to taste the ozone, the fire-cleaved air, the acrid certainty of terror. I want to be picked up and shaken. Let days slow fall, resistant as a single feather, be done. I want what has nothing to do with wanting. Thank you.